Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is currently 12:10 a.m. on this beautiful, clear, slightly chilly Saturday evening going into Sunday. It is 34 degrees outside. And I woke up about a half an hour ago. I took like a 2-hour nap tonight. And I feel very, very rested. I would like to finish the Colleen Hoover book tonight, but I don't know, we'll see. The story is starting to become more interesting to me because I kind of want to just find out what happens. But like I have no investment in the characters whatsoever, and somebody commented on my video that I think it's somebody that really likes Colleen Hoover. There's a lot of people that really love her writing, and that this was their least favorite. This book, Verity, is their least favorite book of hers. So that they recommended another book that I should try, and so that I should give her a chance on some other books. So I may do that down the road. But the mystery of the book is not horrible. It's just not. I'm not like that interested in the characters and stuff like that, you know? But anyway, how are you guys doing? What did I do today? I got up and I thought that Alex had this like birthday brunch thing that he was doing with his friend tomorrow, but it was actually today. So he got up and went to that, and I was tired this morning because I did stay up late last night. When I got done vlogging last night, I did listen to a little bit of my audiobook and then went to bed late. But so he went to that, and then he went to some place, I can't remember what it was called, like pastry something, the pastry chef maybe, I don't know. He brought me a piece of peanut butter cheesecake home. I haven't had it yet, but it looks delicious, and he said it was really fun. He really liked it. Indianapolis is kind of getting some of these, like there's this place called the Cake Bake, I think is what it's called, and there's two of them. There's one in Broad Ripple and there's one in Carmel. And Indianapolis is getting a lot of these kind of like upscale, like bakery places. Bakery slash kind of like they have some brunch kind of like items on there, you know, like little small salads, and they have like fancy drinks and lemonade and stuff like that. We went to, I think it's called the Cake Bake. The Cake Bake or the Cake Shop. I think it's called the Cake Bake. We went there like 2 years ago for one of our friends' birthdays, and it was like she had booked out, like there was this room in the back. This isn't the one in Broad Ripple, if you've been to either one here, if you live in Indianapolis. She booked out like a room in the back for like 8 or 10 of us. This place was so beautiful. Like we went in the spring, and when you walk like up the, like into the house, it's like this little house. And when you walk into it, it's like, it literally looks like a grandma's house out of like a fairy tale. It's like this trestle that you walk through, and it has like all this vinery of flowers, and then there's like all these beautiful white flowers when you're walking up into the house. And then you walk into the house, and there's literally like flowers everywhere, and it's all like pink and white and light blue, and it's just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Some greenery, and they have these most exquisite cakes that are like this tall. The thing is though, like, they don't taste like conventional like birthday cake. You know, like conventional birthday cake has like the really sweet icing and stuff. Like the cakes look absolutely beautiful. And they had all kinds of cakes. They had like a champagne cake, and they had, you know, a red velvet cake, and they had a carrot cake and all this kind of stuff. But the cakes weren't like, the frosting especially wasn't super, super sweet. I don't know about this kind of like bakery that's like, or this kind of baking that's like upscale, where like the frosting, it's supposedly based on some kind of like French baking that like, they're not super sugary, you know what I mean, and sweet, but they were just absolutely beautiful. But literally a piece of cake, you guys, which was like this high, and like, I mean, they're huge pieces of cake, was like $12 or $15. Like, I couldn't believe it. And, I mean, the place itself was an experience, so it was really cool to go see, but I was like, $12 a piece of cake? I am much more of the, give me a, like, $10 sheet cake from the grocery store that tastes super sugary. That's the kind of cake I like. I know that's super horrible, but it is. Somebody mentioned Dairy Queen cakes. I don't know if I've ever had a Dairy Queen cake. I feel like Alex one year for my birthday got me, it's right over there, I just passed it. What's it called? Maggie Moo's, or one of those ice cream places. A Cold Stone Creamery. I think it's Cold Stone Creamery. I think he got me a cake from there one year for my birthday, because I talked about how much I loved ice cream cake. Oh, I know what the comment was about, because it was a comment when I was talking about cake and ice cream don't belong together, and then I said, oh, well, I guess ice cream cake. Because when I was a kid, I did love ice cream cake, and I always wanted an ice cream cake for my birthday. I kind of look back on that, I was like, that day that I was talking about it, I can kind of think about how sad that was. Like, I can remember my mom and I, like, going to 31 Flavors. Like, I would have tennis, like, in the summer, and then we would go to 31 Flavor, because I used to do these tennis camps at North Central High School. A lot of people here in Indianapolis do them. It's this huge camp they have, which later is interesting, because the woman that owns it and runs it, like, her daughter-in-law was my friend that passed away from cancer, like, a year ago, November, and, like, I know their whole family, and it's so funny, and because I, you know, took tennis from her when I was a little kid, and I totally remember her out there. When I saw her at the funeral, I was like, because I haven't seen her in, like, those years, because I've been friends with the family, but not, like, the family's big. And I said, I know you don't remember me. I said, but, I used to take tennis camps. She's, like, the one that started it and led it, but she had, like, a lot of, like, instructors and coaches underneath her. So she was, like, out. I can remember her being out there, but she only, like, taught the super, super, like, if I was, like, probably at the time anywhere from, like, 1st grade to 5th grade or 6th grade, she was, I think I took him maybe to, like, 7th grade or 8th grade, I don't know. But no, because, like, in 7th and 8th grade, I had private coaches in the summer. She was always out there playing with, like, the #1, like, high school players and stuff. And I said, I can totally see you out there, like, in my head on the courts with, like, her little white skirt and hitting tennis rackets and stuff, and, like, her tennis skirt, tennis outfit. And I always thought, like, she was a professional player. And she was like, oh, thank you so much. And she was so sweet. And she was like, so many people come up to me and tell me that they remember me from back in those days. And she's like, that makes me so happy. And it's so funny, because she said, it makes me so happy that those were some people's happiest times. And I thought, I don't know that I would say those were my happiest times, but I had good times playing in the summer. But I remember going afterwards, like, and my mom and I would go to 31 Flavors, and we would pick out my cake for my birthday. And, you know, it was always like this big deal of me picking out whatever my birthday cake was going to be. And I can remember it was like, and I always typically got a ice cream cake in the summer. And so it was like this decision over what kind of ice cream I was going to get. And I love to get, bubblegum ice cream cake, birthday cake. But, like, I look back on that and it's kind of sad, because I didn't, like, I think there was, like, one year I had a birthday party and then not, like, really anybody came. And so, like, after that, like, remember my mom asking me like years after that if I wanted to have a birthday party, and I was like, no. And it wasn't like it wasn't like that scene in a movie where I thought like 30 people would come and nobody showed up. It wasn't that at all. It was like I didn't have a lot of people to invite, and those people I invited, like their moms got back to my mom and were like, oh, we're out of town or this or that. And so it ended up being like 3 or 4 people, of which they were mostly friends of like my mom's or my dad's, their kids. And I just remember thinking, I'm not doing this again. And that was like one birthday party that I had. Because I can remember also that like there was like this situation where I like opened, I think that this one kid that I played tennis with was there too, because we were kind of friends for a while. And he was kind of a jokester, and I think he's the one that did it. I got like, I stood up and I had like one of those like tracksuits on, you know, like I was really, when I was a little kid, I was really into those tracksuits. And my grandma would always buy them for Caroline and I, because she worked at this place called the athletic department, which Caroline ended up working for, which was like a small sporting goods store. And I remember like I was opening presents. We were like on the porch, and like that's like that glassed-in area that we had. And I remember I stood up, and I like, when I stood up, this kid like pulled my pants down and de-pantsed me, and I was like so embarrassed. I was like done with the party, and so I just never wanted a birthday party after that again. And I mean, I'm sure you can understand. I think that has a lot to do with not just that, but there were a couple incidents that happened to me like that growing up, which, I mean, I think it sounds kind of funny, but when you're a kid, those were like traumatizing experiences. And it was like a couple of those things that happened that I like to this day. I don't like a lot of attention made over my birthday. I like people saying happy birthday, and, you know, like that's really nice when people like message me, or, you know, like people call me on my birthday or whatever. But to this day, I don't like a lot of special stuff done. I like to do something very, very private for my birthday. And I think it has to do a lot with back in the day, like just how that all went down, you know. I just was very, very uncomfortable. And so yeah, but I can remember going in like, my mom always making a big deal out of I could have any kind of cake I wanted, and what did I want the cake to say, and all this kind of stuff. But I always remember it being like very small, like just me and my mom, like maybe on some birthdays, or my Aunt Kathy and Uncle Dave. I remember my mom trying to like get people over so that it was more than just us. But I remember there was this one year, and we were coming home, and this was, I think, when I was older, and I was like 12 maybe. And like nobody could come over, and it was just, I think she knew it was literally gonna be just us, and she was trying to make a bigger deal out of it than it was, because I think my mom, like my birthday to my mom was always a big deal, like, because, you know, I was an only child, and I think, you know, my mom so unconditionally loved me. She was so worried about, you know, how I would feel if like you have nothing for your birthday and you're a kid, right? Like it should be kind of a big deal to you. And I can remember kind of like saying to my mom, like, don't worry about it, Mom, it's okay. And I was like 11 or 12 or something. But anyway, I remember she said something like, she was like, I'll get you whatever you want for your birthday as far as a present. And, you know, we would have spent money on a party anyway. Like, what's something that's like she was kind of like, what's like a big gift that you would want? You know, she was like, do you want a new TV for your room? And I was like, no, because I never like sat in my room really and watched TV. You know, I didn't spend a lot of time in my room at my mom's house when I was growing up as a kid. But somehow we came across, like, we had a Betamax until then. This is why it makes me think it was maybe I was a little bit younger. But I remember I said I wanted to get a VCR. Like, it was kind of when VCRs were coming more mainstream. And so my mom was like, that's what you want for your birthday, is a VCR? And I was like, yeah, that's what I want for my birthday. And she was like, she made some comment about, like, well, like, that's not really, like, just a present for you, because that's, like, a present for both of us, because I'll be able to use that, too. Are you sure that's something, I mean, I can buy that for us? Like, that doesn't have to be your birthday present. And I was like, no, I want that to be my birthday present. And so I remember we went to H.H. Gregg. I can see us driving over there. Like, she played tennis too when I played tennis. And so we're like in our, like, you know, tennis outfits. And I can remember going in there, and I remember the guy was really nice. I don't know how I remember that, but like, there was like one of those stamp cards that for like every 10th video that you rented, you got like a free video rental. And like, since we were buying this VCR, we got so many rentals for free. It was like 3 rentals for free, but then he ended up like stamping all these cards and giving us like extra. I remember we like were like 2 kids like in a candy store, like in that VCR store. And I remember we took home all these movies, and then we got Chinese food. I was thinking about this the last time I got Chinese food, because my mom and I always got Mugu Gai Pan. And we got Chinese food, and I remember we sat there and ate Chinese food and watched like all these old movies that we loved on VCR. And that was like my birthday. That was like my 11th or 12th birthday. And it was probably one of the best birthdays I ever had. When I was younger than that, and I almost kind of wonder, like, I haven't asked my dad this, but I kind of wonder at some point if it became because they knew like I wasn't gonna have like a big birthday party or something. Like, my dad has kind of surprised me through the years, like when I'll ask him something, you know, and I'll say, you know, did you do this because like, you know, like if he, okay, like let's say if he, like we would go to Kings Island, this amusement park in Cincinnati. We did that for like year after year after year after year. And I remember like if I said to my dad, did you always take me to, you know, Kings Island? And he would have like one friend would go with us, but it would always be like the son of somebody that my dad was friends with that he worked with, or like the son or daughter of somebody that my mom was friends with. It would all, so I had like, you know, like a playmate for the day, but it wasn't like somebody that I was really ever friends with, but I just kind of knew by association. And my dad was really good. We would like, with going to Kings Island and also skiing in the winter, like we did a lot of that, and I would always take like a friend with me, you know, and it was a friend that like I knew through like my dad's friends, or like a friend of my mom or dad's or something like that, you know. It was never like a friend I made on my own through school. I only really had one the entire time growing up, and his family moved to Arizona. But I mean, I had a couple people that I was friends with for like, let's say a couple weeks, but not very long. I remember I said to my dad something like one time, I don't remember how I said it, but this would be a good example of like where like I thought my dad would be like, oh no, why would you think that? But in actuality, he was like, yeah, absolutely. Where I was like, did you used to take me to Kings Island in the summer for my birthdays because you knew that I wasn't going to have a birthday party, and you wanted me to have something special for my birthday. I can't remember how I said it or what it was when my dad was like, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, that's crazy that he actually thought through things like that, you know? But both of my parents were, I think, very conscious of like making sure to the best of their ability that I had like happy times. The birthday stuff is so funny to me when I look at it though. And to this day, it's like kind of like this dichotomy for me. It's like, I don't care, but I do care at the same moment. Like, if I didn't do anything for my birthday, and like if I didn't do anything at all for my birthday, and I didn't, I just sat at home and nobody said happy birthday or whatever, like I wouldn't like that. But at the same time, like if I had like a surprise party, I wouldn't like that either. Which is funny because like my husband is the complete opposite of that. Like he loves like having parties for his birthday and I mean, he usually every year plans a party for his birthday. And the first probably 5, we travel a lot for our birthdays now. So for our birthdays, we do like, you know, like we'll do a joint trip like one year and we'll go on his birthday because our birthdays are 7 days apart. But when we started dating, like he planned his birthday like months in advance. And I actually, that first birthday that we spent together was probably one of the most valuable learning experiences I've ever had in my life, because his birthday fell on Father's Day weekend. And I've told this story on here before, but it's a really valuable lesson because it's how Alex looks at the world. And you know, at that point, I had witnessed, like, Alex going to every person's birthday party, every person's bridal shower, every person's, you know, wedding, reception. I mean, we went to so many social things that first year because if Alex is invited, he goes. I mean, Alex is literally the epitome of suit up, show up. Like, he suits up and shows up for everything. And Alex has a lot of girlfriends. And so it was like birthday parties and bridal showers and baby showers and gay men are often invited to that stuff a lot, you know, as friends of girls. And so, or women. And so we went to those things all the time, and engagement parties and weddings and whatever. So when his birthday came around that weekend, on Saturday night, he did like this big dinner, and it was like 15 people. And then it was like at this nightclub afterwards. Like, we went, like, he had like a section and stuff. And I remember it was like, out of the 15 people that he invited, he had like 7 people that said they couldn't come, 7 or 8 people. So he filled those spots. Like, then he just asked 7 or 8 more people because he couldn't invite everybody anyway. So the dinner he ended up having, I might be remembering 2 different birthdays, but I don't think so. But anyway, we went out and it was fine and it was whatever. But the next day, on Sunday, which was what he was really excited about, there used to be this party at this restaurant called Bella Vita here that's out on the lake where my dad lives. And it was like they would have this party on Sundays that was called Rehab, that was kind of like modeled after Rehab in Las Vegas, which is their Sunday day pool party. And so it was around this pool that was like a real shallow, like 1.5-foot pool. And then they had cabanas and they had a DJ and a lot of people standing around and whatever. I hated it. It was like, I hated these Sundays. Because it just was like, it was all focused around like the drinking and stuff for me, and at that time I wasn't like in a program, and I just didn't enjoy it. I just literally sat in these cabanas and just like talked to people. So anyway, but I remember for his birthday, he had gotten a cabana and they were very expensive, and he had invited like 40 people to this thing. I mean, it was like some ridiculous amount of people that he had invited to this thing. Not that we were all gonna just be in that cabana, but that was like our station, you know. And then like, I think he had like 15 or 20 like wristbands for this cabana that people could put their stuff in. And then like, but the other 20 people could just kind of like hang out around the pool and whatever. I mean, he invited like 40 people, you know. And like, nobody RSVP'd, like nobody said like I'll be there or I won't be there. And so we show up, and I can remember him being like so excited that it was his, because that was like the actual day of his birthday, I think. I don't remember, but I think so. And he was like so excited that like he was having this thing, and like the DJ, he like got to pick the DJ that year because we used to work with the people that like put on this party at we used to work with the people that put on the pool party, so we helped with like their booking and their like marketing and things like that. So he got to pick like the DJ, which was like one of his favorite DJs, and all this kind of stuff. So we show up, and our one friend that lives in San Francisco, she comes to visit like at Christmas time now. Did she come home this Christmas? I feel like she did. And one of Alex's college friends and his boyfriend showed up. And then our friend Brittany that lives in Florida. That was it. 4 people. I was so bitter the entire day. So bitter. I was like, I cannot believe that out of 40 people, 4 people showed up. That's it. And what's so funny is if you look at pictures, this was back before I had emotional sobriety in my life. This was back before I like really worked on being like super positive. This was when I looked at the glass as half empty instead of half full, which is not how I look at it today, you know. But when you look at pictures of Alex from that day, which I, you know, have several of them, he's like standing in the pool and he's like so happy, and there's like one where he's like kicking the water and he's like that. I mean, he's so happy in all these pictures. And I remember on our way home, like we left there and then we went to go get something to eat with like the 4 people that had come. And I think we went to this restaurant that's called Champs. It's not there anymore. But I remember on the way from this restaurant to Champs, we got in the car and he was like so happy and whatever, you know, and because the thing would close at like 5 or 6 in the afternoon. And I was like, did you have fun? And he was like, yeah, it was a good time. Didn't you have fun? And I was like, yeah, it was all right. And so I was like, so you had a good birthday? And he was like, yeah, it was a good birthday. Like, I had a good time today, you know? And I remember, like, he was in such a positive mood. And I said to him, I said, aren't you pissed that, like, all those people didn't show up? And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I don't remember exactly how it happened. Anytime I tell a story twice, there's always those people out there that are like, well, the last time you told this story, I'm like, look, okay, I'm 48 years old. The chance of me telling the story twice the same way is never going to happen. But anyway, oh, what is that? The Bob Ross Experience at Ball State. That might be kind of fun. But anyway, so I said to him, I said, aren't you upset that all those people didn't show up? And he was like, well, Brittany showed up, and so-and-so and his boyfriend showed up, and, you know, our other friend showed up, and he was like, what are you talking about? And I go, yeah, but you invited 40 people, and only 4 people showed up. And I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, I would rather focus on the 4 people that showed up than the 36 that didn't. And in that moment, like, I totally saw how my husband viewed the world, you know? That he viewed this world in, like, glasses half full instead of half empty. And I can remember it was like such a defining moment for me that I realized I looked at the world in a completely different way, and I didn't want to continue to look at the world that way anymore, you know. And he had a great day, and he didn't think about the people that weren't showing up, and if he did, he sure didn't. He couldn't tell. So we're very different than that. But it was funny because for probably our first 8 years together or something, he had to always do like some big birthday, you know, shindig. And it was like 2 years ago, because, you know, last year we obviously didn't go anywhere for our birthday. So it was 2 years ago. We were in Mexico, and he said, I still feel like I should do something for my birthday. And I looked at him and I go, this is for your birthday. Like, what are you talking about? And he was like, I know, but I still feel like I should have like a birthday party and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, do what you want, babe. If you want to have a party, have a party. This is my birthday right here. Drinking a Diet Coke, sitting by the ocean. We'll probably do something for our birthdays this year. We'll probably go somewhere. I don't know where yet, though. This is our 10-year wedding anniversary, and Alex is really wanting to, well, and I do too. I just don't know, like, how we're gonna organize the whole thing and whatever, but he's wanting to do, like, a renewal of our wedding vows. I said vowels, like, Vanna, I'll buy a vowel. But he's wanting to do, we've always talked about on our 10-year doing, like, a renewal of our wedding vows, and we have no idea what that would look like or whatever, but, like, you know, going to Vegas, because that's where we got married, redoing our wedding vows, and we kind of mentioned something to Melissa and Jason about that the other day, because we definitely want them there when we do it, but we're really not sure what the whole situation would look like, who we would want, or, you know, would we just want one couple, or, so I don't know, we're going to have to see how we'll end up doing that, if we're going to end up doing anything at all. So funny thinking of those tennis camps from when I was a kid. I can remember, like, getting there so early in the morning, and I I hated it, and I would skip it as much as I possibly could, but we had to do like this really serious conditioning where we had to like run sprints and laps and stuff like that. I hated it. I hated conditioning when I was a kid. And of course, like with any sport, you're going to do major conditioning, right? So, I mean, that was just part of being in tennis, but I hated it. And I've always been like a horrible like runner. I've never been like somebody that was... The camera stopped. And even when I was running like in my apartment gym back in the day, and I was running quite a bit, and even at some points when I've been running outside, I haven't been good at it. Like, I'm just not a great runner, you know, unless it's like 2 years and I've worked myself up to it. And I always hated conditioning back then, but I remember we would have like everybody, like everybody that played tennis would have those. Do you guys remember those like igloo water things? And they were like this big, and they were like that round, and they would have like the spout on top that you could push, and they had the, you know, you would like go like, you know, and do you know what I'm talking about? Have a little handle on it. We would fill those to the brim. I remember there was this, I can see it, there was this ice machine outside that had like the square ice chips, and then next to it there was like 2 water fountains, old metal water fountains, and I can remember we would just scoop with all of this like ice, like fill it up to the top, and then we would fill it with water and we would close it, and I can remember just like chugging water on the tennis court, just chugging. I drank so much water as a kid, doing conditioning and stuff like that. I should get one of those. This would be good for me to drink like water now, like a good way. Well, I have to honestly say, like these Starbucks cups, I just fill this up with water, and it's a great way for me to drink water. I love water. We would play out there though. Like we would be out there early, but we didn't play all day. I can remember being done with tennis camps, and then I would go home and I would like hang out with the kids in the neighborhood if we were like doing something for the day. But I think I did like tennis camps like 5 days a week in the summer, and I played tennis year round. Like in the fall and the spring and winter, I had like I was always in a tennis league. I played tennis like 5 days a week. Like every day after school I played tennis. I can remember there were like periods in between when the like leagues were not running, but I played tennis like a lot. If you had asked me at 10 years old, what do you want to do when you grow up? I would have said, I wouldn't have said I want to. I would have said I'm going to be a professional tennis player. Like that's legit what I thought I was going to do. And there was probably 5 or 10 of us that were in my age group in Indianapolis that I think were real contenders. And I do think I was a real contender. And we, like, I remember we used to have downtown, well, it started up north by where we are now. It was the clay courts, and then it became, the clay courts turned into the GTE tennis championships here in Indianapolis. And we got big people that came and played. And so I was a ball boy on the courts, which meant that, well, they had ball girls and boys, but you had to apply to do it. And the way that you would apply, because they only needed like 10, it was like a prestigious like honor to be picked to do this, because you would be the one that would sit like at the net and at the back. If you guys have watched Wimbledon, you'll know what I'm talking about. They're the ones that run across the court and they grab the ball. Do you know what I'm talking about? And then they hold the ball on the other side, or they throw it to the player. And you have to be trained to do it. It's like a prestigious thing. Like in Wimbledon and stuff, it's like a huge deal. Like those kids that are picked at like Wimbledon and US Open, like those are kids that will go on to be like big time players hopefully someday. The way that they picked for us to do it was like anybody could apply, but then you had to play in a championship against each other, and like it was like the top 10 or 20 were the ones that were picked. I think it was like the top 10, and then I think there were 10 of us, 10 under, like study kind of deals. And I remember we wore, like, you had to wear like the uniform, and it was like white shorts, and then it was like a white shirt with like a blue emblem on it, I think. Or no, it was a green emblem, and it said like official, you know, like what our title was or whatever. And I can remember we had to be out there every single day, and it was such a big deal. Like, we would carry our rackets around with us and get them signed. And you know what I think is so cool? I don't know why, but like, my mom was so ahead of her time. And but like, we were treated like celebrities walking around that place. It was kind of cool. And I did that like every year, like from like real young on. And like, my parents used to joke, because I hated sports, I hated athletics, but I was like naturally athletic. And like, anything I tried, I was really good at. I just didn't enjoy playing sports. Excuse me, but tennis I enjoyed. But I remember going around and getting people's signatures. And I remember my mom said, go get her signature. And I didn't know who she was. And so I went up and I said, can I have your signature on my racket? And she looked at me, I'll never forget, and she said, thank you. She was like really nice about the whole thing. And she was like asking me, how long have you played tennis? And I didn't really think anything about it. And I remember I asked my mom who it was, and she said Renee Richards. And later, I remember my mom and I talking, and she said, this is where it's always interesting to me that my mom, like, she would say, like, that she found it, like, she didn't know that I was gay. My mom, like, always said that. She'd say, I don't know why you think that's funny, but I didn't know that you were gay. But anyway. But Renee Richards was, like, the first trans athlete ever. And if she wasn't the first trans athlete, she was the first trans tennis player, definitely. And it was, like, a really, really big deal. And so I remember that. I can see her standing there, like, signing my racket for me. You guys, I still have that racket to this day. I should look at who I have on there, because I have, like, I can remember Chris Everett Lloyd signing it. I can remember John McEnroe signing it. I can remember Yvonne Lindell signing it. Who else? Bjorn Borg signed it, I think. Those were like the early years. I'll have to break it out and see what it says. Isn't that crazy? It's just like literally hanging out in the corner of our garage. Did I move those from the garage? I may have moved those from the garage to the basement. You're like, yeah, it's in the basement, Peter. I know, everything's in the basement. It's so pretty out tonight. My days don't ever feel like they're days they're supposed to be anymore. It's like, you know, it's Saturday night at 12:48, and it feels like a Tuesday at 12:48. It does feel late, though. Those tennis days were good days, though, back in the day. I had fun. I don't know that I really realized how much fun I was having at the time, you know? Or how much that stuff would mean to me later. The semi is kind of like coming out of nowhere with these huge lights. I think that's why it's so important to practice being present, because at the time you don't really realize like how important the things are that you're going through in your life and how much they'll mean to you when you look back on them. And so I think that's why it's really important to, like, just, you know, practice being present in the moment and things. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? It's funny because when I used to watch Dance Moms, I always thought of, like, me playing tennis, because I played at I played at Carmel Racket Club and at Tennis Racket Club and at Indianapolis Racket Club, which is right up the street from us. But mostly I played at Carmel Racket Club. And when you walk in, there's like the check-in desk, and then like on this side, I always played on this side, but there's probably like maybe 10 courts, 10 and 10 or 15 and 15. I don't know. I think 10 and 10. And like you can go down these stairs, and when you go down the stairs, you know, you like walk in between this like hallway, and it's all just like the plastic drapes that come down from the tennis courts, you know. But you can sit up there and you can watch the match. Like you can even get food or drinks or whatever, and you can sit there. It's like this what do you call it, this, God, it's so funny when I'm saying this. It's almost like it's made up in my head. And I spent like, like every night there. There's this like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not an island, but like a ledge. And you can sit at this like ledge, and it was like this deep, you know, and you could put your food and stuff there. And my mom would always just sit right there, my dad, but usually my mom would sit there and just watch me play tennis. And I would have my lessons or my coaching like usually right down there on the first or second court. I loved it. I don't think I realized how much I loved it at the time. You know, it's interesting because by the time that I had, like, when I started playing for the high school, and I got kind of like requested to play for the high school team when I was like varsity, and when I was like, not varsity, when I was a freshman, they wanted me to play like varsity. And it was like playing with guys that just were not nice, and they had never been taught things like, it was bad. And I just remember they were, you know, they had never been taught like sportsmanship, and they had never been taught like, you know, just like, you don't laugh at somebody and things like that. I mean, there's like a lot that goes along with the game of tennis, not just, and I think all sports, you know, not just who's a better winner or who's more powerful or whatever. And I didn't like playing on the team at all. It was a completely different, I don't even know how to explain it. I really, like, do not know how to explain it unless you've gone through something similar. But I went through, like, having private coaches, you know, playing in tennis leagues with people that their entire families had played tennis for, you know, ever, and they grew up playing tennis, to playing on a tennis team when all it was about was winning. Like, that was all it was about. It wasn't about playing a good match or, you know, whatever. It was just about winning. And like, if I wasn't playing a good game, like on a break or whatever, like, they would really come for me and be like, what are you doing? Like, you're losing this for us. I mean, it was just like this whole, like, attitude that I had never seen before. And I remember I was playing a game, and I didn't want to be there. I was done. I didn't want to play on this team anymore. I remember the coach was really nasty too. He wasn't very nice. And I just was done. I didn't want to play anymore. I just didn't want to be on this team anymore. And I remember, like, something happened. I don't even remember what it was, but I kind of just, like, tossed my racket. I just was kind of like, whatever. And my dad came out, and he said, you just faulted this game. And I was like, what? And he was like, you don't throw your racket. He was like, you're done. And because my parents were like hardcore, like, you don't do that kind of stuff. You don't cuss, you don't throw your racket, you don't do that. That's why, like, John McEnroe was such a big deal back in the day, because he would, like, cuss and, like, question, like, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I remember the coach on my team was livid that my dad made me do that. And my dad was like, I don't care if you lose this game or not. This is more about long-term, like, who my son is as a person and who he is as a human being. And he's never behaved this way before, and he's not going to behave this way now. And I was done, and that was it. And I don't remember playing tennis after that. Not with my mom for fun, because we used to play for fun all the time. I just gave it up. I, like, just, like, walked away, literally, from tennis. And it was the people that I played with that made me hate the sport. And I just was like, if this is what tennis is about, I don't want to be any part of it. And I hated it. And it didn't happen overnight. I mean, it was kind of a growing thing. But I remember just being like, I hate this. Like, I don't want anything to do with this. And for years, like, when people would ask me to play, like, do you want to just, like, go grab a match of tennis? Or, no. Like, not even for fun. Not with my mom. Not with, like, my Uncle Dave. Not with anybody. I wanted nothing to do with it. Like, keep that racket away from me. And I don't know. Maybe it was because I put so many years into doing it, you know? that I had just had enough. Maybe it was that, maybe it was the people that I played with, maybe I'm making excuses and I don't know what it was. I just was done. All I know is I was done. And it was so funny because Alex and I had always joked about the fact that, like, when Alex was growing up, he played tennis as well and had coaches. And so a couple years ago, we like took some rackets up because we have tennis courts in our neighborhood. I'm gonna turn around. We have tennis courts in our neighborhood. This is always a scary place to me. It's this like this gravel or grain something over here. It scares me when I drive by. It looks like serial killers. But anyway, I remember we went and played tennis, and we were both still so good. And he was like so surprised. He was like, "You are really good." I was like, "Thanks." But it's like something you kind of, I guess, just don't ever lose, you know? And then after I played that one game, I was like, this is, yeah, Kokomo Grain Company. Alex was like, doesn't this just look like a serial killer place? Doesn't it? So anyway, I remember after that, like I said to Alex, I said, we should play like every week. Like I was really excited. Like I missed it. Like I could tell how much I missed it and that I wanted to play it again, you know? And we were gonna come back up there and play like all the time. I think at that point, it was like, I don't think it was in the summer. I think it was like in the fall. I should do that again this summer. I should start playing tennis again. I feel like I have a window open or something. What's making... It's not just like the wind outside. It smells so good. It smells like the country outside. I love that smell. Well, all right, you guys, listen. I am going to listen to my audiobook now and cut this a little short tonight. So I love you very much. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. I hope you're having an amazing Sunday. I hope you are getting refreshed and renewed from the week ahead. Refreshed and rejuvenated. And like I said, I love you very much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya!